Hey there, I'm Sandy Reese, Chief Encouragement Officer at Get Fully Funded and the founder of Fundraising TV, where we teach you in bite-sized lessons how to raise the money you need to fully fund your budget and change more lives. I want to give you a sneak peek into the world of Fundraising TV and give you a tip that you can use right away to go raise more money for your small nonprofit. If you like what you see, stay tuned until the end, and I'll tell you how to access hundreds of lessons, templates, cheat sheets, and swipe files that are found only inside Fundraising TV. Starting a nonprofit is exciting. You're passionate about a cause and eager to make a difference. And pretty soon, the work becomes all-consuming, and one day you realize you're working full-time and then some. Unless you're independently wealthy, you'll need your new nonprofit to pay you so you can afford the finer things in life like food and housing. But it's a big step for your nonprofit to start paying you, and there are lots of things to consider like when to start and how much you should make. On this episode of Fundraising TV, we'll cover the basics of getting paid by the nonprofit you started.
If you're looking for the best advice you can get when you're raising money for a nonprofit, Fundraising TV.
As the founder of a new nonprofit, you're probably working for free instead of taking a salary. Like other founders, you want every penny to go toward providing services so your nonprofit can begin to fulfill its mission. Maybe you're working a full-time job and running your nonprofit on the side, or maybe you're living off of savings. One way or another, you're making ends meet, but it's not a long-term solution. I get it. Been there and done that. You're willing to do whatever it takes to get your new nonprofit up and running, even if that means temporarily reducing your personal income. It's your baby after all, and it must be cared for. But unless you're independently wealthy or have another source of income, you will need to pay yourself at some point, or pay yourself more than you're making now so that you're making a living wage. Paying yourself can be an intimidating thought, especially when you're looking at your nonprofit's tiny checkbook. I know in your heart it's a tug of war between funneling all possible resources into the mission and making sure that you have what you need to live. But look, don't feel guilty about getting paid from your nonprofit. The work you're doing is leading the organization forward, right? Someone has to do the day-to-day work, and if that someone is you, you deserve to be paid. Now, taking on that extra expense means that fundraising becomes much more high stakes. If the revenue stops coming in, will you be able to make payroll? Obviously, lots of nonprofits have figured it out because millions of people are employed in the nonprofit sector. So how do you make it work for you? How do you know when it's time to pay yourself? And how do you decide how much your salary should be? In short, how do you make the switch from being a volunteer in your nonprofit to becoming a paid employee? Let's start with the first question. When is the right time to start paying yourself? To answer that, you need to take a close look at your organization's budget and revenue forecasts. If you don't have a budget, well, that's your first assignment. Watch the episode on how to create and use an organizational budget to grow your nonprofit. Once you have a budget, take a look at the bottom line. Do you have a big enough surplus that you could begin paying yourself right now? And has that surplus been consistent over the past 4 to 6 months? If so, congratulations, you can start paying yourself something now. If not, there's more work to do. Take a close look at the revenue side of your budget. How are you bringing in money currently? What do you have planned? Can it be expanded enough to cover your salary? Can you build your monthly giving to provide a steady stream of revenue to give you the confidence that paying yourself is manageable? Can you charge for some services? Think through the possibilities because there's probably a lot. For many nonprofits, revenue is cyclical, and that means that money does not come in steadily month after month, conveniently at 1/12 of the annual budget. That would be amazing, but it doesn't work that way. Instead, money tends to come in when you hold an event, when you send out an appeal, and often during the holidays. For some nonprofits, they raise as much as 1/3 of their revenue during November and December. If your fiscal year starts on January 1, you're basically waiting until year end to get a significant portion of your annual revenue, which can be a little scary. Of course, if you have a really good holiday fundraising season, you might start the new year with a financial surplus in the bank that covers salaries for at least the first few months. That gives you some breathing room to raise money. And that's okay as long as you have a plan to raise more money when that cushion is gone. Let's go back to your budget. How much money is left over after you pay for program expenses each month? If nothing is left over, you will have to increase revenue to afford to take on a salary. That means working on your fundraising plan so you know how and when the money will come in. Definitely don't assume that the money will somehow show up. That's not smart, and you'll end up frustrated and resentful when you have to miss a paycheck because there just aren't enough funds in the checking account. And don't expect your board to magically jump in to raise money to cover your salary if they haven't done much of anything to help with fundraising up to now. They won't make that leap just because you need help. Build your salary into the budget as an expense and be sure your revenue projections are certain enough that you can cover your new salary. That means you need a well thought out fundraising plan so you know for sure where money is coming from instead of operating on hope. Look, hope is a good thing, but not when your paycheck is at risk. So spend some time carefully thinking through your fundraising plan, projecting revenue for each activity so you can get a sense of what the coming year will look like. What you might consider doing is starting out paying yourself a small amount of money that's right-sized for your budget. That gives you a chance to pay yourself something and give your budget a chance to expand to cover it. You can always increase it later. Just be clear with your board that this is a starting place, not an ending place. You don't want to have to argue with them later over an increase. I've seen it happen and it's not pretty. Once you have enough money coming in, you have a lot to consider before taking a plan to your board for putting yourself on payroll. Remember, it's the board's job to hire and supervise the executive director, and the board must approve any plan for a nonprofit salary. Start planning for a salary when your organization brings in revenue beyond the cost of programs consistently for at least 6 months. To see the rest of this episode and dozens more like it covering every aspect of fundraising and operating a small nonprofit, join me and hundreds of your fellow nonprofit leaders inside Fundraising TV. You'll get immediate access to hundreds of practical micro lessons, templates, cheat sheets, and swipe files that you can only find inside Fundraising TV. So click the link to learn more and join the program so you can get started today.